Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Today is Season 6, Episode 43, and we have a short week upon us. Short week equals 2 episodes in one, so this is going to be, I think, a normal-sized episode if John were here, but for me, it's going to be a long episode because I'm going to be covering the Steelers' win over the Baltimore Ravens, and then their quick turnaround against the Minnesota Vikings. So that being said, there is a lot to cover today. So let's hop right into it. Starting with some Steelers news and injuries. Dan Moore suffered an injury during the game but was able to return. Steelers had moved Chukwuma Okorafor over to left tackle and put Banner in at right tackle while he was injured. So that was interesting to watch, but he came back relatively quickly, so it wasn't that concerning. However, not much later, B.J. Finney seemed to re-injure his back injury during the game, causing John LeGlue to step in. Finney has been ruled out for Thursday Night Football, so his injury is at least serious for the week. Then Steelers added specialists to their practice squad as insurance with COVID. I don't think that this is a challenge to Presley Harvin or Christian Kuntz in this regard, but I think it's just for emergency purposes. They didn't come out and say that, but it's what it feels like anyway. They signed punter Drew Chrisman and long snapper Rex Sunahara. Chrisman is an undrafted rookie from Ohio State, while Sunahara is in his second season after coming out from West Virginia. He had worked out for the Steelers last preseason. In corresponding moves, they released Lyndon Stevens and Tyler Vaughns from the practice squad. So, unfortunate for those guys, but the Steelers needed a backups in case that COVID ran through their specialists. So, here we are. Now, let's talk about that Baltimore game. The Steelers win 20-19. I did say that I wasn't going to put out my last podcast. I was thinking about it. I ended up putting it out anyway. But I did say on the podcast, and I'm happy about it, that if TJ Watt played, I would have picked a victory. Or if I knew that Cameron Hayward was playing for sure, I'd pick a victory. So I would have went back and done it had I waited basically one more day. It was just miraculous. I literally said it would take a miracle for TJ Watt to come off the COVID list, and that's basically what happened. I have no idea how he got off so quick, but we take those because he was a big difference maker in this game. And I guess we should start there. Let's start with the pass rush. It was a two-man show for the most part. Chris Wormley, I want to start with him first, even though I mentioned TJ Watt. Chris Wormley had a day. Chris Wormley said, I remember you guys trading me. Obviously, Chris Wormley is a former Raven, and he said, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to make you wish you didn't. And he finished with 2.5 sacks on the day. I mean, he was having a really good day, especially for him. And I tweeted it during the show, during this game, I should say. Follow the Twitter, by the way. It'll be down in the description below with all our other links. If you want the up-to-date, we always tweet the game live for the most part. So, but Chris Wormley is very underappreciated. I think a lot of people have been asking basically where Stephon Tuitt, who would take his spot, but I have to give respect because Chris Wormley has stepped in and he has been having a quietly good season. And I know I've said that sarcastically for Terrell Edmonds, but Wormley has had a quietly decent season. He's not Stephon Tuitt, but I mean, I don't think Stephon Tuitt plays any better in this game. If it was between him and Stephon Tuitt for this game, this Chris Wormley had a game like that. That's not every game, but this was a big game for him to have 2.5 sacks against his former team and 5 tackles. Just absolute great play from him. Then T.J. Watt, the second part of the wrecking crew, had 3.5 himself. He had combined with Wormley on one of his. He had a fumble that almost ended the game. He forced a fumble that almost ended the game as well. So having Watt was key. I mean, he got 3.5 sacks in this game. That's not something that could be taken lightly. It was a very, very good play from him. Just absolutely disruptive player that we know TJ Watt to be. He took advantage of the matchup as he should because the Ravens offensive line is banged up and familiar with Alejandro Villanueva is, on the left side for them. But Watt took advantage. He did exactly what we did, and there was no drawbacks from having COVID and not practicing up until basically the day before the game, which he still wouldn't have gotten to practice in. But So very good from him. Cameron Hayward continued to be good. He got the only other sack of the game. So 7 sacks are split up between 3 people. But overall, I thought the pass rush was pretty good. I thought that they got a lot of pressures on Lamar Jackson. Again, pressures on Lamar Jackson are kind of scary because he could take off, and he did in this game. Lamar Jackson got his. That's not. He had 8 rushes for 55 yards. It could have been way worse. I'm not. That number isn't amazing, but that number is good enough for me with what Lamar Jackson could put up and what we've seen Justin Herbert put up. I mean, keeping Lamar Jackson to that when compared to what the team let Justin Herbert get, I will take that. I'll take that a lot. But yeah, the team finished with 10 quarterback hits on Lamar Jackson. That doesn't even point to how many pressures they had. I thought that they did good in that regard. They were good disrupting the pass. None bigger than Akilla Witherspoon breaking up a pass that would have been a touchdown to Mark Andrews, who Mark Andrews had a very up and down day. To start the day, I thought it was the worst game of his career, and then he started pulling it back together, and then he finished dropping the 2 point. With, to be fair, Lamar Jackson didn't put on the best spot, but Lamar Jackson had TJ Watt in his face as the Ravens employed the very, very smart tactic of not blocking TJ Watt. I do not recommend that for most teams, but they did it, I believe, at least twice that I remember. But yeah, Akilla Witherspoon had a big pass defense. Joe Schobert had one. Minka Fitzpatrick had one. And then who had the fourth? Oh, Montravius Adams. Let's talk about him. He looked so good out there in his first game. Very little preparation time for him to get ready, but he took on the role, and the nose tackle position looked as best as it's been all year. The Steelers might have found a gem there. It's only been one game, and as I mentioned earlier, the Ravens' offensive line is very banged up, but he is fast off the snap. He looked solid. He had some big tackles. He had 2 tackles for the game, including one being solo, and he had that pass defense. Just overall, really good game for him for his first game, so I was very happy with that. There's overall pretty good performances from everyone on the defense. At least at times they showed at least something that was good. Joe Schobert had that pass defense. As I said, it was almost intercepted. It should have been Terrell Edmonds should have came up a little bit faster and made that like you're expecting your athletic safety to do, but unfortunately it just didn't materialize. But it didn't end up mattering anyway. Minka Fitzpatrick got another interception in this game. Unsurprising because it's Lamar Jackson throwing, but yeah, Lamar Jackson made a very bad decision to toss that ball just into the end zone, saying, screw it, someone will get it. And Minka decided he was going to get it. He finished with a team high 9 tackles for the game, so he was good. The only thing I want to touch on that was bad, I will say, because I thought they overall had a solid day. They kind of kept the Ravens running game in check, at least for the most part. I mean, Devontae Freeman getting the touchdown sucked. It was uninterrupted, but from then on, I felt like they were a much better team. They didn't allow anything to Latavius Murray. The guy that they elevated, Nate McCurry, he only got 1 carry, and it was for a -1 yard, so they did well there. I was happy with it. But back to the one thing, I still think the inside linebackers right now are the weakest part of this team. To start the day, I thought Joe Schobert was having his worst game of the year. He kind of rounded it out and made it a little bit better, but I still thought he struggled. And Devin Bush showed better than what we've seen, but still not looking great. I think that they're a really weak point in this defense right now, and it's really upsetting because I really thought Joe Schobert, I think, has been as advertised. He's been okay, but this game just sucked, and Devin Bush has just been not very good at all. But still, the play just from there isn't great. Part of it is the matchup. So Joe Schobert, some of the plays that were bad was he got mismatched and had to cover someone, and he's just not the kind of linebacker for that to be in coverage. Like, he's not fast enough to handle a lot of the assignments given to him, especially if it's a wide receiver. So I can't put all the blame on him. But yeah, just overall, I was happy with what the defense did. There was a lot of rotation going on. I saw Taco Charlton out there on the field. We saw Henry Mondeau come in sometimes. We saw Isaiah Loudermilk out there at times. Derek Tuska as well. I liked what the Steelers did on defense against the Ravens offense. The Ravens, again, were kept in check. I mean, they only scored 19 points. So I'm happy with that. As for the offense versus the Ravens defense, putting up 20 is in today isn't disappointing. I felt really confident in this game. Coming out of the half, I felt like that this team was going to put it together, and they did. They did enough to win. Uh, just barely. The Ravens almost got the 2 point at the end, but the offense did just enough to win. I wish they did a little bit better because, I mean, you could start that Marlon Humphrey is now lost for the year after this game. Their cornerback room was already devastated, and that's why they even went for 2 at the end. You wish that the offense could do more, but uh, the bad first half is just not good. Like, the Steelers aren't a very fast team. They're not a team that gets started fast anyway, is what I mean. They were able to put up 17 in the fourth quarter, which is all you need. I felt so good after that, but they're only able to put up 3 points through the first 3 quarters, and that's kind of unacceptable. The team should have been able to do a little bit more than that and should not have to rely on a fourth quarter comeback. But I don't know how mad I could be when they did win. Deontay Johnson was shut out in the first half, basically. He was a non-factor. But he turned it around and finished the day with 8 receptions for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Uh, it was just started really bad for him. He dropped a would-be touchdown, and it just hurt because it would have been a touchdown, but it was like his second drop of the year too. It wasn't like he's only had one other drop in the year, so that was tough because Ben put it in a really good spot. But he pulled it together. Chase Claypool only 2 catches for 52 yards, but that 140-yard catch was a double explosive play, so we definitely take that. And it was impressive because he stayed on his feet and got yards after the catch, which I didn't know was possible for Chase Claypool, so we take that. Najee Harris, the game script basically was just not the first 10 plays were all Najee Harris. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but if I don't know if I have enough time to do it, but if I could go back, like almost the all the touches in the beginning of the game were for Najee Harris. Ready? You start with Najee Harris, right guard to Pittsburgh 22 for 2 yards. Najee Harris for 7 yards. Najee up the middle for no gain. Punt, then you come back to the next drive. Ben Roethlisberger pass short right to Najee Harris for 3 yards. Only Najee has touched the ball through 4 offensive plays. Now Najee Harris left tackle to Pitt 35 for 5 yards. That's 5 plays. Then there was a shot for Chase Claypool, but didn't catch it, so I'm not counting that as a touch because he wasn't able to touch it. So now we're up to 5 plays. Now, after the Steelers punt, after the Ravens, then the Ravens get their touchdown drive. Steelers get the ball back. Ben Roethlisberger pass short to Najee Harris to Pitt 36 for 18 yards. 6 plays. Then he tries to get it to Deontay Johnson. Doesn't get it. It's incomplete. Then Najee Harris, left tackle to Pitt 35 for minus 1 yards. It's 7. It has now been... This is the third offensive drive. 7 touches have been... There's only Najee Harris and Ben Roethlisberger have touched the ball, basically. 7 of them. Finally, it gets complete to Ray McCloud for 7 yards. Finally, someone else gets involved. It was just a tough day at the beginning. It wasn't a very good offensive game script. It seems like the team plays so much better when they're just operating on like a 2-minute drill offense and Ben controlling the offense. It really does feel like Matt Canada could be holding this team back a little bit. I can't really... It's hard to tell because... Honestly, the game scripts have been okay the past 5 games. So the opening game scripts, just for this team to get any points consistently though is pulling teeth. But yeah, so it wasn't a very good opening game script. It was just feed Najee Harris and see what happens, and it wasn't super effective. Wasn't really doing much, but they ended up opening it up, and more guys got catches in this game. Zach Gentry got 2 catches, but all on the final offensive drive. Both of them, I mean. He was big. And I am once again stating that Ray McCloud is better than James Washington. Again, James Washington did not come down with his lone target. Ray McCloud only caught 1 of his 4, but I think Ray McCloud is still useful for what he provides to the offense, even if he's not touching the ball. So, honestly, the Steelers probably should have traded James Washington at this point. I'm going to hammer that home. Overall, Ravens game takeaways, I feel good. I know I kind of gave up on the team, but it was based on the injuries the Steelers had. But I'm going back to it. I think that the Steelers can win both their games against the Ravens. Had I known that T.J. Watt was going to play, I would have made my pick and said the Steelers are not losing the Ravens. As long as Lamar Jackson is their quarterback, the next time the Steelers and Ravens meet, the Steelers are not losing. He just doesn't have it. My hate for Lamar Jackson runs high, but every Lamar Jackson just is not a good enough quarterback to beat the Steelers. It's just not. He can't. If he has to only rely on his legs, it's not going to work. He's proven to be not the best passer down the field. A lot of this game, a lot of his completions were checkdowns. It was just short stuff, and then the Steelers were shooting themselves in the foot by not stopping the short stuff. But I mean, and that's kind of exemplified by the fact that he averaged less than. Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to quote something wrong, but still. My original point still stands. He finished with a QBR of 42.5. Just not that good of a quarterback. He made that bad decision on the interception. Should have been intercepted again on that Joe Schobert deflection. He kind of threw it right at Joe Schobert, so Joe Schobert could have came down with it himself. It was a little bit high, though, for him to get it. But I just don't think that the Ravens have it. And it's just as simple as that. So that kind of wraps up the game. I did want to only go over it for a little bit. Oof. I apologize. ESPN was like, hey, you want to hear an ad as loud as possible? All right. Is there anything? Oh, special teams. Special teams, very up and down day for Presley Harvin. Presley Harvin had one of the greatest punts I've ever seen by someone in a Steelers uniform, downing a ball at the 1. But other than that, his punts were really, really bad. Just like not very good on that regard. Like he had like a tiny punt late, and it just kind of sucks. He doesn't do it consistently. He doesn't have he only averaged 43.4 points, and he had a long 64 punt. It's just like that's tough. Chris Boswell, also a really tough day. Part of it was unlucky, but the extra point miss, that sucked. That might have hurt his Pro Bowl chances because the extra points are easier, but he nailed a 53-yarder, so that's tough. It just really whiffed on that extra point. I don't know what happened. It looked like maybe he planted a little bit wrong, angled himself a little bit different, but that was tough. And then worse off, rather than just missing the extra point, was the kickoff on the Ravens' final drive of the game. The kickoff went out of bounds. That was bad bounce luck, but still, that sucks because it let them start their drive at the 40, and they were able to get down, get the touchdown, just weren't able to get the 2 points. So it didn't come back to bite the Steelers, but almost did. So that was tough, and nothing to report with the return game. So that should wrap up that game for now. So now let's look at around the NFL for Week 13. We had a lot going on. So Thursday Night Football, we already talked about. Buccaneers at Falcons. This was John's lock, and that was fair. I mean, the Falcons actually kind of kept it close for the first half. It was, I believe, 20-17, and then the Falcons never scored any more points. Then the Buccaneers were able to pull away and win 30-17. Both me and John had picked the Buccaneers to cover, so we got that. It was a 10.5 point spread. Cardinals at Bears. Pretty easy game. It was 33-22. The Bears, I guess, they kept it within 11. I don't know. It wasn't a very good game. David Montgomery looked good, though, but David Montgomery is now hurt. David Montgomery was on their injury report with 3 different injuries. One to glute, one to thigh, and I believe... don't remember what the last one was. He's just suffering from a bunch of injuries. He kind of got his wheels run off in that game because they used him effectively, and he was a really good runner. Chargers at Bengals, very surprising game for me. Not for John. John had picked the Chargers +3, but holy cow. I don't know if John expected the game to go this way. Granted, the Bengals, I guess, made it a little bit respectable starting at basically in the second quarter, but it was 24-0 at one point, and then the Bengals scored 13 in the second quarter after that, so it was 24-13. But then it was just the Chargers were able to pull away in the fourth quarter. It was 24-13, and then it was 24-21 after the third quarter. Respectable, and then the Chargers just pulled away, and it was 41-22. Did not see that. The Bengals are a very inconsistent team. It's kind of hard to gauge where they're at. I really think that they do have a chance at like making a Super Bowl run. They're a good enough team. It's just I don't know if they are going to have enough consistent games in a row against really good teams to do so. Chargers are also in the same boat. The Chargers, I don't know. They feel different though. I don't think that they're going to make a Super Bowl run. I think their defense just isn't good enough. But they're a very inconsistent team as well. And hey, they beat the Bengals, who I think can make a Super Bowl run, all but unlikely. Vikings at Lions. Very exciting game. The Lions were able to win at the very last seconds as time ran off. Amon Ra, excuse me, St. Brown had caught the final touchdown, and the Lions get their first victory of the season. So now the two teams that couldn't beat the Lions will face off on Thursday Night Football. I bet everyone that's not a Steelers or Vikings fan is super excited. But yeah, I picked the Lions plus 7.5. They kept it close with the Vikings the last time. Almost won it that time as well. But this time they pull away with the win. No heartbreak, and they get the first win of the season, so they could say that they at least got it. And they still have the number one pick in the draft as of right now. So they're solid in that regard. Giants at Dolphins, I put a lot of hope into saying that the Dolphins were going to suck in some regard and let oh wow, I can't even remember his name. Why am I really struggling? Mike Glennon keep up with them with such a big line, but it just didn't happen. Dolphins win 20-9. Eagles at Jets. I was starting to regret my decision after the first half of football, but the Eagles were able to keep the Jets scoreless after the first half, and they win 33-18 and cover. Colts at Texans. I said I would not be making the same mistake again and pick the Colts to cover. It was the same exact spread as the last time, and I said, wow, that spread doesn't make sense. And now it made sense. I picked the Colts to cover, and they blew out the Texans 31-0. The Texans have since cut Zach Cunningham from their team after just giving an extension last year. Big decision. I mean, from what I've seen, Zach Cunningham has the same problems as Devin Bush, just a lack of effort. And he was suspended earlier this year by the team for being late to meetings and everything, and then they just said that this was the final straw and just cut him outright. I'm pretty sure he's going to have a market. I know that they said that there's a lack of effort, but I think for another team, they'll probably get something good. As for the Steelers being interested in that, I doubt it. I doubt they want another version of Devin Bush, but it's possible. I mean, I think Zach Cunningham could be. It's tough to say. Zach Cunningham's pretty young. So if the Steelers were able to get him on a cheaper contract, depending on his market, and then the Steelers were able to trade Devin Bush, that would be solid. I have been a known not a big Devin Bush fan. So if that's what the route the Steelers would go, keep them all for right now, Joe Schobert, Devin Bush, and Zach Cunningham, but trade Devin Bush in the offseason and keep Cunningham, which is basically the same player. I might take it. Cunningham has flashed at some points. There's a reason he got a big contract to start off with, but just he doesn't look very interested in football right now, which is the same problem the Steelers are having with Bush. But I would find it easier to root for Cunningham because I was a fan of his before he fell off. I remember last year I was arguing with John that he's top linebacker, and John was like, "No, he's not," and I was like, "Yes, he is." And I think John won because he got cut. At least it's not all on his abilities, but he hasn't been playing that good. Anyway, moving on to the next set of games. Washington and Raiders. Washington are able to win on a walk-off field goal. Not walk-off, I'm sorry. There was still time left. Brian Johnson, their new kicker, was able to win it. They win 17-15 over the Raiders. The football team are one of the hottest teams in football right now. Them and the Colts are like really, really hot teams. And Washington's at the right time. They're about to make a playoff push. They have a big game against the Cowboys next week. And while their margin of victory hasn't been amazing, and maybe not all of the quality of people they've beaten is amazing either, but they did beat the Buccaneers. They beat the Raiders, which are still a respectable 6-6. Like that's a pretty solid team, even if they just barely beat them. Divisional games are wonky. I think that there's a chance that Washington pulls out a victory against the Cowboys next week, and that would open up possibly winning the division for Washington, which is kind of crazy after the start they had. But that's next week. Jaguars at Rams. As I said, that spread was huge. I'm pretty sure if they just made it a 2-touchdown spread, I would have picked the Jaguars plus 14 because I didn't like how the Rams were playing, and I would have been wrong. Luckily, the spread stayed at 13. I said I'll go with the Rams to cover, and they beat the brakes off the Jaguars. The Jaguars are just a really bad team. Rams win 37-7. 49ers at Seahawks. Remember, kids, if you want to pick the outcome of a NFC West game, pick the team that you think is worse. Basically, that is what I'm going with. I forget what I said on the podcast. I think I just said the NFC West is stupid. So Seahawks plus 3.5. The 49ers feel like a much better team than the Seahawks at this point. They probably shouldn't have lost. However, the NFC West is stupid. I picked the Seahawks plus 3.5. They win 30-23. The NFC West might make more sense than it seems. You just pick the opposite of what you think, or at least what I think. Yeah, the Seahawks just have the 49ers number, own them. That there's nothing else to say. Maybe Russell Wilson looks better than he has the past couple weeks as well, so I'll say that. Chiefs at Broncos. I'm just not a big believer in the Chiefs offense, and to be fair, they really aren't that good. They really just look not that good. 7 points in a 22-9 victory came from a pick six. So other than that pick six that the Chiefs had, the offense was only able to muster together 15 points. That is not good when you have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball. Patrick Mahomes just does not look like the Patrick Mahomes we've seen prior to this year. It's just that offense is very, very weak for the playmakers they have. They should be doing better. Then finishing up for the week, the Patriots at Bills is a very interesting game. The wins were incredible. The wins were super high. The teams weren't able to really kick the ball at all. It's a really chess match kind of game. Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times, completing twice. The Bills just were unable to stop the Patriots' run game. Damian Harris ripped off a long run, and the Bills were just never able to do anything about it. I thought coming out of this game it'd be easy, and we'd know which is the better team. I thought it was questionable. I thought it was the Bills, but I could see the Patriots winning, and thought if the Patriots won, I'd think they're the better team. The conditions made clouded my opinion of this game. I still think the Bills are the better team. The wind really plays into the Bills' weakness and plays into the Patriots' strength. The Bills are not a good team at running. They are based around Josh Allen throwing and completing the ball, and the high winds just don't work around that. They don't really have a run game to support what they're doing. So, that being said, I think in 2 weeks we'll have a better read, as long as there's not something crazy in that game. God knows. This was in Orchard Park. Gillette Stadium is still up north. There could be a whole snowstorm in 2 weeks, because that'll be late December. So, probably won't learn anything there either. But, yeah, the Bills just don't look very good at the moment. They're in a really bad skid, and it's going to be really hard for them to win the division. Especially with the Buccaneers coming into town, or I think they might be going to Florida. Not sure. They're facing the Buccaneers. Tough for them. But that wraps up this week. So all gas, no brakes, baby. I got a double header. The Steelers are versing the Vikings today. As of now, it's very late in the night of basically December 8th, but now it is December 9th morning. So we're deep into the night, but I wanted to make sure that I got this episode up so that people could hear what I had to say about the Vikings game that's going to be going on. And basically, let's start with the all-time series. So the series is 9-9. Both teams getting 9 wins, but the Steelers had the more significant win in there because the postseason record is 1-0 Pitt, with Pitt winning the Super Bowl against them. The last result was 26-9 Pittsburgh, which I believe 2017, and the current streak is win 1. That being said, and the fun fact, I feel like this might be pretty common for most people to know, but hey, maybe there's younger fans that just didn't realize it because it's been about 15 years now since it happened. But before Mike Tomlin became the Steelers head coach, he was the Vikings defensive coordinator in 2006. It was his last stop before he made it to Pittsburgh as the head coach. And then Pittsburgh scooped him up and said, no, you're head coach material. And I think it worked out for the most part. 2 Super Bowls later, 3 Super Bowl appearances, a team that's never had a losing record since he's come. We take those. Anyhow, let's get to the injury report. So Joe Hayden is out. So practicing the other week really seemed to set him back. That was a mistake. I mean, all's easier when you're looking back and everything's good in retrospect. But yeah, that stinks. That him trying to practice that 1 week just really just hurt him. I hope he comes back for next week. This was a short week, so I'm not really pressed that he didn't come back this week. But it would have been nice to have him against KJ Osborne and JJ. Oh, I don't know why I wanted. I was about to say JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Justin Jefferson, Jay Jettis. Uh, Isaiah Buggs' ankle is out again. Robert Spillane knee is out, and BJ Finney with a back injury is out. I already mentioned that one, but none of these guys practiced in any capacity this week, so there was no question that any of these guys were not going to play. For the Vikings, serious injuries have hit them. Adam Thielen, on one of the first plays of the game, suffered a high ankle sprain. He is out for this game. Christian Darrisaw, their rookie, has an ankle injury, and he is also out. Dalvin Cook, with his shoulder injury, is questionable. I'll be honest, I'm surprised he's even questionable. I think it's unlikely he plays based on his injury, but he did log limited practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, which Tuesday was an estimation. I want to put that out there. Any practice report for Tuesday for the Vikings was just a estimation because they did not practice, but they thought he would have been limited then, and he did log one on the more important day on Wednesday. But he has 2 torn labrum. His labrum is torn in each of his shoulders. I am shocked that he is even questionable for this game. I mean, they said he was going to be out at least 2 weeks. I think that's still the plan. I think he's not going to play in this game. If they do, I don't know. I think that they're risking this for no reason. Just let him heal a little bit. Like let him get a little bit of rest. This is an injury, right? Like it's so hard to tell. I guess it might be something about dealing with pain, how bad it's torn, if it's fully torn, what's actually happening. But this injury, the torn labrum, where he has 2 of them, just knocked Jamal Adams out for the year. Jamal Adams with his torn labrum, which he only has 1, is out for the year. Dalvin Cook has torn both in each of his shoulders, on both sides, I should say. And he is he's less than 2 weeks from that injury, and he is practicing in a limited fashion, and could play in this game. Again, I don't think it's likely, but man, he would be a Superman. I know that the shoulders aren't like the most important position for the running backs, but I don't know. I just think it's not. It feels like Cook probably should have been shut down. I guess it's up to him and where the doctors think he is, but I don't know. I think that he should have been on IR for at least 3 weeks. They're debating putting him out there though, and I mean, there's a chance he's almost definitely going to come back next week if they're thinking about playing him this week. Blake Lynch with a hip and Cameron Bynum with an ankle are questionable. Lynch started the week not practicing, but practiced in a limited fashion Tuesday and Wednesday. Bynum started the week with 2 limited practice, but finished as a full participant. And one other note for the Vikings that Patrick Peterson was activated off the reserve COVID list on Monday and is good to go for this game. So, going into the game, I would like to start with the defense. There's obviously less to worry about. No Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is so underrated because he's not Justin Jefferson. He is a very good wide receiver. Very good in the red zone. possibly even better than Justin Jefferson in the red zone. I don't know if that's controversial to say. I think, just to back it up, I think Justin Jefferson is the better receiver, but Adam Thielen could be a wide receiver one for another team. But Adam Thielen has what he's good at, and Justin Jefferson has what he's good at. Adam Thielen's a very good short route runner, very a good quarterback friendly guy, could get passes, get yards after the catch, stuff like that. Justin Jefferson is the burner. Justin Jefferson's going to take your top off. Going, I, I have to laugh the way I said that. I didn't mean to phrase it that way, but Justin Jefferson's going to go run the seam routes and the zip routes, stuff like that. While Adam Thielen's going to be running closer to the line of scrimmage. So they each, and that's why in the red zone, I think Thielen becomes more dangerous, is because in shorter field situations he's better. But they would complement each other perfectly. They're a very good wide receiver duo. With Adam Thielen not playing, it kind of puts KJ Osborne into a starting role. I mean, he already had a starting role. He was already playing in 3 wide receiver sets, so it's not like he wasn't. But man, their wide receiver room is kind of messed up this year. They a lot of Chad Beebe has been put on IR. Now Adam Thielen's hurt. Their backups now. I'm not even sure who is going to be stepping in, because obviously the depth chart doesn't always translate to what the team is going to do. But I do want to see who officially is behind him on the Vikings depth chart. Officially behind Adam Thielen is Emir Smith-Marset. He's not even someone I've heard of. So, other than him on the roster, they have Dan Chisna. Oops. No, I do not want to subscribe to Vikings. And then they have D.D. Westbrook, which I know D.D. Now let's take a look at their practice squad, if there's anyone of note. See who they could possibly be elevating for this game. That's a reserved injured. Yeah, they have, I think, 4 wide receivers on their IR. 3: Chad Beebe, Bissy Johnson, and Blake Prohl. Tough for them. So, like, looking at oh wow, Tristan Jackson. He's from Syracuse or Buffalo. So he's hanging out with them. Yeah, it was Syracuse. I was right the first time. So they have him and Myron Mitchell as the 2 wide receivers on their practice squad. Look for one of them to be elevated. I'd be surprised if they didn't, because if they didn't, they'd be rolling with Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, Emir Smith-Marset, and D.D. Westbrook, and Dan Chisna. They'd probably want to do more wide receivers than that in the 5, but I guess we'll see. It's possible that they could roll with that, and maybe we'll see more 2 tight end sets. They are kind of built for 2 tight end sets. They have Tyler Conklin, who should see some more targets in this game with Thielen gone, and they also traded for Chris Herndon, who I think Herndon's terrible, but I mean, maybe they traded for him for a reason. They actually gave a 4th round pick for it. I believe they got a 6th round pick back, but still, might see more of him. More maybe sets with CJ Ham. That's a possibility. They really like CJ Ham. I like CJ Ham. He's a really good fullback in the league. But yeah, going apart from the wide receivers that they're missing, or the wide receiver they're missing, the running back room, I'm not like, oh no, oh great, Dalvin Cook's not playing, I feel safe. No, Alexander Madison's been a really solid running back for them when he has to step in. He's had some big games, some big Dalvin Cook games, just further adding to why running backs don't matter. But so I'm still scared of him. It doesn't really change much for me that Dalvin Cook is out. It's nice, but I think the bigger loss in them is Adam Thielen, because Alexander Madison could put up a big game. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers return to not covering the run at all. So Madison's a guy to watch out for. They will be down their starting left tackle for this game, the rookie that they drafted, but their offensive line as a whole is decent enough. They got some young guys, and Ezra Cleveland and Brian O'Neill. Brian O'Neill just got rewarded with a contract extension. He was from Pittsburgh, but they should be good. And they've had Kirk Cousins at the helm for quite a while now. And Kirk Cousins was my first. I thought he was the first quarterback that like I really hated, where I was like, he's so overrated and everyone loves him. Now I feel like he's kind of like he's in a role where he's rated properly. Like he's a decent quarterback. He always has been. But now like he might be even a little bit underrated now, because I think he's playing decent football. It's been really good, but I wouldn't say really good. He's just been good. Just been solid. He's been a solid quarterback for them. But yeah, so their offense is it feels so good on paper. Like even without Adam Thielen, I thought KJ Osborne was a pretty solid wide receiver. He had big games this year, not consistently. I mean, when you have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook, you have your stars. You have more than enough. And then you add Tyler Conklin, and you had Irv Smith Jr. to start the year. They had a pretty good offense. But now KJ Osborne in a second wide receiver role, I think he's going to step up. As I said, he's already had a big game this year, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities for him to have another one. So he's someone to watch out for in this game as well, getting a more pronounced role. As for the defense, I hope to hold them to the same standard as last week. If they could do what they did last week, where they were bend but don't break, including in the end, and when Minkah Fitzpatrick got the interception in the end zone to start the game, that'll be good enough. Holding a team to 19 points, under 20 is solid. For this defense, for what the defense should have been coming into the year, it might be a little bit more disappointing, but I think for an NFL team, at any given point, if you're holding a team under 20 points, you're doing a pretty solid job. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for here. I expect TJ Watt to do TJ Watt things. I expect Cameron Hayward to do Cameron Hayward things, and so on and so forth. I feel pretty good about that. My concern is going to be the middle linebackers against Alexander Madison. I think that's going to be a tough matchup, and Justin Jefferson is quickly establishing that he's a top wide receiver in this league. I don't know where I rank him yet. I haven't really sat down and done a wide receiver ranking this year. I don't think it's too crazy to say that he might have already entered top 6 wide receiver in the NFL conversation. He's just really good. That might be controversial. I'll say top 10 to be safe. I don't think you could put him outside the top 10 with how well he's been playing. Just a really good wide receiver that bounces off the duo with Adam Thielen. But yeah, I want to see if there's any more I wanted to touch on matchup wise, because I really didn't spend a lot of time talking about the Steelers. I'm looking for Montavious Adams to have another game like he did last week. That would be great. I'm not expecting it. He was a practice squad guy for a reason, but if he could play like 80% of how he did against the Ravens, I will take that. I think that's better than what we've seen from Isaiah Buggs. Carlos Davis is also back, so look for him to be a participant. Yeah, that should be it for the defense versus their offense. As for the Steelers' offense versus their defense, their defensive line I don't think is what they were expecting coming into the year. Daniel Hunter's on IR. Everson Griffin has had his issues. They have other injuries like Jalen Twyman, I am really bad with names, and Jordan Scott on IR. They still actually have a decent defensive line, though. They have Patrick Jones II, who Pittsburgh fans should remember him because he was an edge rusher for Pitt last year at like the college Pitt, if that's not clear. They have Michael Pierce, who didn't play last year because of COVID. He opted out, but now he's playing. DJ Wanham has been put in the defensive end spot. I heard, I was looking at Twitter, and Twitter's not always your best option, but I was looking at Twitter last week actually, when the Vikings were playing, or when they played the Lions, and everyone was saying he sucked. I don't really know much about him, but apparently he hasn't been playing good. They have Sheldon Richardson technically listed as a backup, which I find interesting. I would expect it with their injuries that Sheldon Richardson would have been into a more prominent role, but he's listed as the backup behind Dalvin Tomlinson, who Tomlinson's actually a pretty solid guy, kind of. Oh, see, this is weird. Patrick Jones was listed as a starter on one part of the site, and now he's listed as a backup on another. Apparently, Tashawn Bauer is going to be starting over him at the right end spot. Interesting. I guess that's something to watch. Maybe they rotate in and out, but because I'm not very familiar. The biggest thing for me in this game is going to be this is the Troy Dye's first game against the Steelers. Troy Dye is one of my least favorite prospects I ever looked at. He shouldn't be in a starting role, but as you know, as soon as he comes on the field, if he ever does, I have to look back and see if they make him inactive. I don't know what they actually do with him. If he actually plays any meaningful snaps, if he's just a special teamer, or if he's a game day inactive. But if I see him on that field, there's going to be a tweet that Troy Dye sucks. But yeah, he's not a starter, so it's not the biggest deal. Vikings also have pretty solid linebacking core. Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, Nick Vigil. Troy Dye is a backup, bad, but they have Chaz Surratt as a backup as well. And I liked him, wasn't in love, but I liked what I saw him. He's a rookie, but I like what they got in the linebackers. They got some speed. Anthony Barr is kind of older now, but he was always known for his speed. They're tackle machines. They're going to be good against the run. It's going to be a little bit tougher, I think, on the second level for Najee to get past these guys, but Najee's not known as a burner anyway because that's just not what Najee is. He's a guy that's going to put his shoulder down, but basically, I think if the Steelers could get past the D line, that would be good enough. But because their D line's pretty banged up, but we'll have to see about that. As for defensive backs that the Vikings have, I really like Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith is a very, very good player, but other than that, I'm just not in love with who they have. They have Patrick Peterson, who is older now, wasn't doing very good with I was about to say the Ravens, the Cardinals in his final season. They have Rashad Breeland. They have Cameron Dantzler, Mackenzie Alexander sitting there as a backup. Xavier Woods is their starting free safety. Just Harrison Smith is a guy you want to avoid. If you can do it, avoid him. He's also a pretty good tackler. He racks up a lot of tackles for the team. I wonder if I'm pretty sure he's second on the team in tackles. I'm pretty sure Nick Vigil is currently leading the team in tackles. Oh, wow. No, I'm just completely off. I should have known that. I don't know why I said Nick Vigil. I think I'm confusing him with the Bengals linebacker, Logan Wilson. Nick Vigil was a former Bengal, but Eric Kendrick leads a team of 62, but Harrison Smith has 58. The other safety has 48, which with the safeties in 2 and 3 for tackles on their team, it's telling me that, at least to me, it means a lot of players are getting up to the next level so that the safeties can make these tackles. So to me, that just points out that the cornerbacks and possibly even the linebackers are struggling in coverage. Again, I'm not in love with their cornerback room. I think that Deontay Johnson should be able to take advantage of whether he be on Patrick Peterson or Bashad Breeland. I think he could take advantage of that matchup. Chase Claypool, I kind of don't have. I think I might be overvaluing him as a wide receiver. I think he's just a guy that's kind of decent. Like, might have a good game, might have a couple catches, but he's not a guy that's really good at creating separation. So I keep thinking that he's like better than these guys, but I think he kind of just matches. He should probably have a similar game to last game where he probably gets like one big catch, but isn't going to be consistently open. And then Ray McLeod kind of beats out all these guys in speed, so maybe get him involved there. I wouldn't go back to trying the jet sweeps and stuff like that because their linebackers are actually pretty fast and pretty good. So I don't think that's going to work in this game, but we'll see if that's what Matt Canada dials up. Maybe he's seen something and maybe the linebackers can be taken advantage of. To me, it just seems like a bad matchup to be doing that. Apart from that, I don't know if there's. I feel like I pretty much covered the entire Vikings defense. I don't think there's anyone else that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, take advantage of their cornerbacks. It's going to be the name of the game, kind of similar to last week. It's another game where I'm not really. I'm not really committed to the run game if it's not working, but that defensive line should be able to be worked, hopefully. It's going to be tough because John LeGlue is going to be making his first start as an NFL player. So that's going to be a big thing for him. I mean, it's good for him that he's getting the opportunity. He looked solid last week, but overall, it's still tough to be your first NFL start at just coming in after an injury. I wish him the best of luck. I hope it goes well. But yeah, the rest of the line's intact. Other than that, I think, and Kevin Dotson, there's a possibility that he could be back next week. At least his 21-day window could be opened next week. So we'll see about that with his high ankle sprain. They're tough to come back from sometimes. So we will just have to see. So I think that kind of wraps up the game before my predictions and X factors. So let's go over some NFL stuff. Let's go over the Week 14 picks. So starting off, we have the Ravens at Browns. Cleveland is favored by 2.5 points. The Ravens are a banged up team. There's no way around it. It's why Cleveland's being favored. But Cleveland's just a bad team. I said that the Ravens exemplify the next man up mentality, and I don't know how long it could continue. I mean, they are messed up. They've lost so much, and I could go over it. Marlon Humphrey was one of the biggest losses they could take. That was like one of their best players. I mean, before like Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think before I say something stupid. I'm pretty sure that was their second best player left on their team. I don't think that's unfair to say. It'd be between him and Mark Andrews, but to me, Mark Andrews is hit or miss. Marlon Humphrey's Marlon Humphrey. It's tough. It's tough after to lose a guy like that. Still, I'm gonna pick the Ravens plus 2.5. Despite losing Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, L.J. Fort, Nick Boyle for most of the year, stuff like that, I think that the Ravens are still a better team than the Cleveland Browns. Jaguars at Titans. Tennessee is favored by 8.5. Tennessee has also been pretty solid at embodying that next man up mentality, but divisional game made me pick the Jaguars. Kind of stupid pick, I think. I feel like it's going to end up biting me in the butt, and the Titans are probably going to blow them out like 31-7. But I'm going to pick the Jaguars plus 8.5 anyway, because I think the Titans' injuries are mounting up. It's really tough for them. And I think the Jaguars can somehow find a way to keep it within 8.5. I think the Titans are still going to win, though. Raiders at Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 9.5 points. I'm going to pick the Raiders plus 9.5. I think that's just too big of a line with how bad Kansas City's offense has been. However, the one thing to consider is the one time that their offense looked good was against the Raiders in the past 4 games, or 5 games, I should say. But so, I'm still going to pick the Raiders plus 9.5, though. I think that they'll have a better performance this game. Saints at Jets. New Orleans is favored by 5 points. I'm never picking the Jets ever again this year unless it's really, really, really good. Like for some reason, the Jets are not favored by like 20 points. I'll have to pick the Jets plus 20, but that ain't gonna happen. I don't think. Saints cover. Cowboys at football team. Touched on it earlier in the podcast. Dallas is favored by 4 points. The football team is hot, and I don't care about their margin of victory. Give me the football team plus 4. I think the football team could win this game. I think it's possible. I think the Cowboys are the better team, especially on paper, but man, does the football team just have a winning streak and momentum right now. I don't want to bet against it right now. Falcons at Panthers. Carolina is favored by 2.5 points. Give me the Falcons plus 2.5. I think the Falcons are going to win this game. I still don't trust Cam Newton, but I guess Cam Newton could ball out here. Seahawks at Texans. Seattle is favored by 7.5. Ugh. Ew. That's all I have to say about this game. I guess Seahawks cover. I'm not really sure. I'm not confident in that pick. Giants at Chargers. Chargers are favored by 10. Give me the Chargers to cover. It looks like it's going to be the Jake Fromm or Mike Glennon show. Regardless, give me the Chargers to cover. 49ers at Bengals. San Francisco is favored by 1.5. I'm still not in love with 49ers like that. Give me the Bengals plus 1.5, even though they're inconsistent. I do hope the 49ers win, though. That'd be nice. Bills at Buccaneers. Buccaneers are favored by 3.5 points. Give me the Bucks to cover. I just don't feel like the Bills are on the same plane right now. Bears at Packers. Green Bay is favored by 12.5. Give me the Packers to cover. Bears are just not in a good spot. Rams at Cardinals. Arizona is favored by 2.5. As I said earlier, NFC West is stupid. Times 2. Rams plus 2.5 for me. Even though to me the Cardinals are better, the Rams just haven't been playing very good football as of late. They just blew out the Jaguars, but that's not really, that doesn't inspire me that they blew out the Jaguars. So, I'm just overall unimpressed with their team, and I think if this was not the NFC West, I would be picking the Cardinals. But give me the Rams plus 2.5. The buys this week are the Colts, Dolphins, Patriots, and Eagles. So good luck, everybody. This is probably everyone's last week of fantasy football. It is mine. Before playoffs, I mean. So good luck if you're down Jonathan Taylor or someone that you needed from one of those teams. Especially if you're making the last playoff push. I am one of those people, not with Jonathan Taylor, but I am funny enough versing John in one of my leagues for competing for one of the last playoff spots. Basically, if I beat John, he's out of the playoffs. So it'd be really tough for him to make it if I win. So we'll see what happens. If I lose, I can miss it out on the playoffs. So I am also, we're competing for this spot. It's a very competitive league. There's punishment and there's victory money. So that wraps up that. So let's go over my X Factor, bold prediction, and final score for the Steelers game. So starting with my X Factors, I'm going to go with John LeGlue. I talked about him right at the end. I'm welcoming him to being a starter. I think he's going to make a difference. I thought he played pretty well last week against the Ravens when he had to step in cold. He's gotten a little bit of more experience this week, gotten to see some game action, got to prepare for his starting role. But I think he's going to make the difference. I mean, if he has a bad day, it could be the difference in winning or losing. So I'm going to make him the offensive X factor. As for defense, I'm picking Cameron Sutton. I think that Justin Jefferson is probably the scariest part of this team. I think Madison needs to be respected, but the scariest part of this team is going to be Justin Jefferson. And Cameron Sutton is the guy I'm looking for to be matched up on him the most. At least I hope, because he's the best cornerback you have right now. I hope that he has a good game. I mean, if Justin Jefferson takes off the top, it's going to be a really rough day for the Steelers. They're not going to be able to keep up with an offense that's letting Justin Jefferson just go off against them. Steelers have been okay. Really good earlier in the year of taking away a team's best weapon. Not so much lately, like after the Chargers and Bengals game, but I hope that they can get back to that. Make them use KJ Osborne instead, or rely on Alexander Madison, which isn't the worst thing in the world because Madison has shown he's okay. But point is, my X factor is Cameron Sutton because of Justin Jefferson. So my bold prediction is that there's no sacks given up. Then Ben Roethlisberger throws for 400 yards, has a big day, and that Cameron Sutton has a triple crown with a sack, forced fumble, or a fumble recovery. I'm opening it up a little bit to give myself a chance, and then an interception. What I would call a cornerback's triple crown. Very hard to get, especially with Cameron Sutton. Shouldn't be rushing the passer in this game, but we'll see. We'll see how bold that prediction is. So final score prediction. It's tough. Both teams are fighting. They're both on the brink of the playoffs. Both need this win. Both could suffer this loss. The Steelers a little bit more because this is not an AFC team and they have a slightly better record than the Vikings, but neither team wants to lose this game as per usual. No teams want to lose their game unless like it's the end of the year and you're tanking. But I think that the Steelers are going to win a close one. I think that possibly had Adam Thielen played, I think the Vikings would have a better chance of winning, and I think I would have probably picked the Vikings to win with Adam Thielen, but I think that injury was more significant than people are making it out to be. Oh, I should say that Minnesota's favored by 3 in this game. I don't know if I said that. The official apologize. The official line is Minnesota by 3, at least according to ESPN. So, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to bring it up again. It says, nope, it says, I don't want to. I would let, yeah, Minnesota's favored by 3. The over-under is at 43.5. I think that Adam Thielen is a big thing for when they get in the red zone. I think the Steelers are able to win a normal score, 24-21. It's a close game. I think that the Steelers might need another game-winning drive at the end of the game to win it. But I think that they are able to pull it out. I think that they can get the victory in this game against the Vikings. I'm pretty sure a weird stat about the Vikings, other than the Lions game, they've been up 7 points in every single game they played this year, apart from that Lions game, I'm pretty sure. So, they're a tough team. They've been playing tough. They've had leads, pretty big leads at one point. I mean, a whole touchdown in every game besides the Lions game. It's pretty big, but I still have the Steelers winning 24-21 when all is said and done. I guess that means I'm picking Minnesota plus... I'm an idiot. Minnesota's favored. I'm picking Pittsburgh plus the 3 points and to win. So, that should wrap up today's podcast. It was a very long one. Went for quite a while. Not for regular podcast standards when it's me and John, because we both have to get our piece in. But pretty long podcast nonetheless. My throat actually kind of hurts. It's a lot of talking. But regardless, if you enjoyed watching, please subscribe. Please check us out on all our social media platforms, which will be listed below. And everybody, go Steelers. Good luck. I hope that everyone enjoys watching. Bye, everybody.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.